check under the bed and make sure there's no Disney executives under there.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, only this time, it wasn't just me. They were taking all my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women complaining about the patriarchy.
Excuse me. Your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
You think it's perfectly normal that Carmen is suddenly a black woman?
You probably don't like that Indiana Jones got replaced by a female either, huh? Probably have a problem with Black Spider-Man, too.
When Rachel Zegler tried to get South Park's brutal parody episode pulled off the air, it was supposed to be a power move, stand up for herself, protect her brand, silence the noise, but instead, she triggered a legal storm she couldn't control.
Yeah. Weird.
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 No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
And now, sources say South Park's creators are gearing up to hit back hard.
Like, who has been the most exciting person for you tonight?
Oh my God.
Took the words out of my mouth.
What an idiot I've been as a young person in this industry who has no filter and no idea what she's doing.
Insiders close to the show claim Rachel's ban attempt didn't just annoy them, it offended them. Because for South Park, free speech isn't just a gimmick, it's their entire brand, their entire career.
This is no ordinary apple, my dear. It's a magic wishing apple. A wishing apple? You offer it to me freely. In place of the patriarchy, you would have a queen! Not white, but diverse, inclusive, and equitable! I will become the leader I know I can be! All shall love me and despair!
Oh, what has she done to you? Fear not. First love's kiss can break any curse.
Trying to ban an episode wasn't seen as standing up for what's right. It was seen as declaring war. And if there's one thing you never want to do in Hollywood, it's make enemies out of men who have survived cancel culture, lawsuits, and death threats, and still made fun of everyone who tried to stop them.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
Rachel may have thought she was protecting her image. Instead, she lit the fuse on something way bigger than herself.
The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway. And then I see Butters, and he's like, "Hey, Eric, you want to see what my mom packed me for lunch?" And that's when I start to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse? But then Kenny's like, it's not our fault, it's because of Kathleen Kennedy. But then Kathleen Kennedy says like, make it more lame. And everyone in town is like, no, please, Kathleen Kennedy, stop ruining everything. But Kathleen Kennedy is all like, put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more lame. And the Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And then Bob Iger is all like, no, what's going on with my stocks? No, Kathleen Kennedy.
South Park's creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, didn't issue a fake apology. They didn't backpedal. They didn't delete anything. Instead, they allegedly called a meeting with their legal team and mapped out counteraction strategies. Because if Rachel was going to claim defamation, harassment, or emotional damages, South Park wasn't just going to sit there and take it. They were ready to fight back, publicly, legally, and brutally. According to industry leaks, their team immediately began assembling a defense, tying Rachel's public statements directly to satire protections, preparing free speech counterclaims, gathering evidence that her public persona is fair game under parody laws. And if this escalates to court, sources say they're prepared to expose everything. Interviews, tweets, even behind-the-scenes footage that could paint Rachel's attempt to control the narrative in a very unflattering light. Do you think Rachel should have just laughed it off? Or was she right to stand her ground? Drop your honest take. Would you fight a parody or just let it slide?
Woke? We're talking about ultra-far leftists, people who believe that men and women are a figment of your imagination, that your money is not your own, that your family is not your own, and that your country is not your own. That's what woke means.
While Rachel and South Park gear up behind closed doors, Hollywood is watching. And girl, it's not pretty. Industry insiders say studio execs are deeply nervous about the ripple effects. Nobody wants to get caught between two powerful forces: a rising actress with strong fan support and a legendary show with ironclad legal protections. Some brands are allegedly reevaluating contracts with Rachel, not because of the parody itself, but because of the perception that she can't handle criticism. In an industry built on public opinion, being seen as thin-skinned is often more fatal than being controversial. And South Park, their merch is flying off shelves. Their episode views are skyrocketing. They're winning in the only court that matters, the court of public attention.
A company like Disney so up against it. Why? Because it doubled down on DEI.
Now Rachel faces an impossible choice. If she pushes harder legally, she risks looking even more controlling, playing perfectly into South Park's savage portrayal. If she drops the fight, she risks looking weak, humiliated, defeated. It's a lose-lose situation, carefully engineered by two of the smartest and most ruthless satirists alive. And worst of all, the public is already starting to pick sides, and it's not looking good for Rachel.
A completely spineless, feckless prince buys his swimsuits at Target.
It's helpful to be able to tuck.
And Snow White is Snow Brown. Now, I don't have a problem with the fact that she's brown. I'm just saying everything about this has to be changed when it doesn't really need to be changed.
The second Rachel Zegler made a move against South Park, their legal team kicked into high gear. And baby, they didn't just prepare to defend themselves, they started preparing to counterattack. Sources close to the show say Trey Parker and Matt Stone weren't just offended, they were strategically furious. They saw Rachel's legal threats as an assault on free speech itself. And if there's one thing South Park will never allow, it's being silenced. Behind closed doors, their lawyers began crafting counter-litigation strategies. Meaning, if Rachel tried to sue for defamation or damages, they could sue her right back for frivolous claims, damages to their brand, and attempted censorship. The goal wasn't just to win a court case, it was to make an example out of her. Because in South Park's world, if you come for the kings, you better not miss. And Rachel, she wasn't even aiming at the right target.
And there was no tension, there was no drama, there was like nothing in that set. All it was an empty movie.
While South Park circled their wagons, Rachel's team was imploding. At first, her managers, agents, and PR handlers tried to present a united front. All smiles, all strategic leaks about her being misrepresented and standing up for young women everywhere. But behind the scenes, total panic. Some team members allegedly begged Rachel to drop the fight, warning her that going after a show with South Park's reputation was professional suicide. Others doubled down, encouraging her to set boundaries and defend her platform. Sources say screaming matches broke out inside strategy meetings. Frustrations boiled over. One insider even leaked that certain agents started distancing themselves from Rachel, worried that being associated with this level of chaos could burn their other clients too. Imagine it. You're not just losing public support, you're losing your own army.
So Disney is another company that's been in hot water. They've been in a downward spiral.
While Rachel fought behind closed doors, South Park played the smartest game of all. They let the audience fight for them. They didn't rant on social media. They didn't send out frantic press releases. They didn't even release new episodes addressing the drama. They sat back and let the internet do the work. Memes exploded again, now mocking Rachel's fragile ego and tone-deaf outrage. Legal commentators on YouTube and TikTok broke down why South Park's parody was bulletproof, protected under fair use and satire laws. Fan art flooded Reddit depicting Rachel trying to cancel fictional characters, a brutal exaggeration of her Snow White controversy, now amplified tenfold. South Park knew they didn't need to shout. They had already won the culture war without lifting a finger. If you were in Rachel's shoes right now, would you double down and fight harder, or would you quietly walk away and let it die? Drop your honest answer, because handling public backlash is way harder than it looks.
And then what do you know? They try all this updating. They get this lousy screenwriter, in my estimation, because I saw this thing and it was awful, like really, really, really bad.
There's another layer to this war that no one on Twitter is mentioning, but Hollywood insiders are whispering about in every backroom. If South Park does countersue, if this does get dragged into court, Discovery could get ugly. Emails, contracts, texts, DMs, PR strategy documents. All of it could become public record. And if Rachel's team has any internal communications mocking fans, plotting media spin, or admitting behind the scenes that they know they overreacted, Girl, that would be a death sentence for her brand, because legal battles aren't just about the ruling. They're about what gets dragged into the sunlight along the way. Rachel's lawyers know this. South Park's lawyers know this. And now, the question is, who's willing to risk bleeding out in the spotlight just to win?
When people say woke, what they really mean is they're describing a worldview that hates you, that hates everything America stands for.
At first, Rachel's team tried to stay calm. After all, plenty of celebrities survive bad press cycles, even brutal ones. But this wasn't just another PR storm. This was different. 1 week after the South Park legal drama exploded, Rachel's phone calls to networks weren't getting returned. Meetings that were top priority suddenly got moved to next quarter. Scheduled brand shoots were reassessed. Publicists who had once promised her the world, now whispering that maybe, just maybe, she should take a private retreat. Didn't happen with a bang. It happened quietly, strategically, with 1,000 little cold shoulders that added up to a full-on freeze-out. And in Hollywood, silence is louder than a slap.
And I think Snow White has become the pinnacle of this. You know, this is going to go down in history as an asterisk next to Rachel Zegler's name, Rachel Zegler.
The second real sign of collapse wasn't online. It was financial. Behind the scenes, Rachel's team had lined up deals worth millions. Beauty brands, fashion houses, endorsement campaigns tied to her upcoming movies. Every contract had been signed based on one assumption, that Rachel Zegler was safe, marketable, universally adored. But when her name started trending for all the wrong reasons, and when the internet kept dragging her harder every time she tried to fight back, those deals started crumbling. One huge cosmetics brand, allegedly ready to feature Rachel in a multi-country billboard campaign, backed out quietly, citing brand alignment issues. Another fashion house canceled a collaboration she had already shot, swallowing the production costs just to avoid the PR fallout. The worst part? Rachel couldn't stop it, because once brands decide you're controversial, no heartfelt apology. We'll save the money. They move on, fast, without looking back.
I don't really care about that. What I care about is how she hated the story because it needed to be wokeified, and she hated the fact that there was going to be a Prince Charming of some sort, and they needed to update it.
And it wasn't just beauty deals. Rachel had major projects lined up with streaming platforms, starring roles in upcoming series, voice work in new animated movies. Some of them were already finished, some were still in pre-production, but after the South Park war exploded, execs got nervous. Privately, they started asking questions like, is she still bankable? Will the audience even want to see her now? Is she too much baggage? Quiet meetings were held. Decisions were made behind closed doors. Projects that once revolved around Rachel were quietly restructured. New stars were attached, release dates shifted, press tours were canceled before they even started. And for Rachel, there were no angry statements, no dramatic firings, just an industry moving forward without her, and acting like she had never been there at all.
But the primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
Meanwhile, Rachel tried to salvage her public image the only way she knew how. By speaking out, she posted a few vague tweets about standing up for herself. She reposted fan edits on Instagram about empowerment and resilience. She even hinted at a new personal project that would show her true self. But it wasn't working. Every post she made triggered fresh waves of backlash. Every quote about protecting young women got stitched into viral TikToks mocking her. Every attempt to control the narrative only made her seem more desperate and more out of touch. Her own fan pages slowed down. Comment sections turned cold. The energy shifted from protect Rachel at all costs to girl, just stop posting. It wasn't just hate anymore, it was exhaustion. And in pop culture, when people get tired of you, it's over. If you were Rachel's friend right now, would you tell her to fight harder or to disappear completely and rebuild quietly? Drop your answer. Real talk only. While Rachel flailed, South Park thrived without saying a single word. No new episodes dragging her, no public clapbacks, nothing. They let the internet, and Rachel herself, do the work for them. The South Park parody episode became a cult classic overnight. Memes and reaction videos hit millions of views. Commentators praised Trey Parker and Matt Stone as prophets who called out Hollywood's ego problem better than any think piece ever could. In the end, South Park didn't win because they fought harder. They won because they understood. Something Rachel's team didn't. In today's culture, the harder you try to control the narrative, the faster you lose it. Rachel wanted to silence the joke. She ended up becoming part of it now. Months after the first legal shots were fired, Rachel Zegler's career stands at a brutal crossroads. She's not blacklisted. She's not officially canceled, but she's wounded. Badly. Hollywood doesn't hate her. It just doesn't need her anymore. And when the industry decides it can live without you, that's when the real death spiral begins. Rachel's only chance now is a full reinvention, a total wipe of her public image, a carefully calculated return to the spotlight after the world forgets why they were mad at her in the first place. But that comeback window, it's closing faster than she realizes. There's something even more brutal than being canceled in Hollywood. It's being forgotten. Rachel Zegler isn't facing protests. She's not at the center of some massive scandal anymore. There are no trending hashtags screaming her name. Day after day. Instead, there's silence. Streaming platforms aren't promoting her anymore. Magazines aren't calling for interviews. Award shows, once eager to put her on stage, are filling their lineups with safer, fresher faces. No one came out and officially declared that Rachel's career was over. No dramatic press conference. No scandalous expose. But in Hollywood, you don't always hear the door slam shut. Sometimes it just closes slowly and locks behind you without a sound. And for Rachel, that door might already be sealed. If Rachel Zegler wants any shot at survival, it won't be through a clever tweet. It won't be from booking another princess role. It won't be by crying on a talk show couch. It'll have to come from something way harder. Real reinvention. Some kind that isn't cosmetic. No fresh photo shoot, no viral dance challenge. The kind that takes years, not months. The kind that forces you to tear down everything you thought made you successful and rebuild from scratch. Rachel would have to disappear strategically, then reemerge somewhere smaller, rawer, and more honest. Maybe an indie drama where she's gritty and unrecognizable. Maybe a supporting role where she's not the face of the movie, but earns respect quietly. She would have to stop trying to be the symbol for every cause. She would have to start being a real person the audience could connect to again. Without feeling preached at, without feeling managed, because real reinvention isn't glamorous, it's brutal, and not every celebrity survives the process. Here's the cold reality Rachel's team has to face. Hollywood moves fast, and it doesn't leave the door open long for the ones who stumble. New faces are already rising. Producers are already hunting for the next young it girl, someone less controversial, someone who comes without baggage, someone who doesn't carry a lawsuit in one hand and a PR disaster in the other. And once new blood takes over the spaces you used to dominate, it's almost impossible to get them back. Every month that Rachel Zegler stays out of headlines for the wrong reasons, the harder it becomes to reintroduce her for the right ones. Every meme that fades, every TikTok trend that dies down, every article that stops mentioning her name makes the climb back even steeper. Time can heal a damaged brand, but time can also erase you if you wait too long. And right now, time is not on Rachel's side. Meanwhile, South Park's win has already been cemented, not in court, but in culture. Their parody of Rachel didn't just make people laugh in the moment, it changed how audiences view her permanently. Even if Rachel lands a huge new role, someday, even if she gives the performance of her life, that South Park episode will still exist. Those memes will still be sitting in Google Images. That perception that she's the out-of-touch diva who couldn't take a joke will still color everything she does. You can apologize for a mistake. You can explain away a bad interview. But once you become a symbol of a bigger problem, fake activism, celebrity ego, the disconnect between Hollywood and real people, it's almost impossible to peel that label off. South Park didn't just make fun of Rachel Zegler, they rewrote her public story faster than her team could stop them. And now she's trapped in it. Be real. If a celebrity gets turned into a meme for being fake or cringy, do you ever fully see them the same again? Or does it stick forever? I want to hear what you think. Drop it in the comments. There's still a sliver of hope, but it would take guts most celebrities don't have. Rachel would need to disappear on purpose, not in shame, but in strategy. She'd need to say nothing, post nothing, trend for nothing, let the culture. Forget the punchline, not by fighting it, but by starving it. And then, years from now, come back when nobody expects her. When nobody is looking for a lecture or a brand or a carefully crafted statement. Just a real actress with real talent. And something raw to say, not through social media posts, but through work. That's the only way Rachel Zegler could flip the narrative. Not by arguing louder, by becoming undeniable again. Because at the end of the day, Hollywood doesn't care about apologies. It cares about power. And the only power that matters, talent that can't be ignored. Rachel has that. Somewhere. The question is whether she can survive long enough to show it again. Now it's your turn. Is Rachel Zegler capable of pulling off a true, messy, real comeback? Or has the culture already decided her fate? Drop your rawest thoughts in the comments. No filter. I'm reading everything. And if you loved this deep dive into the drama, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Because in Hollywood, one bad move can spark a fire, and we'll be here to spill every last drop of tea. Stay messy, stay curious, and stay tuned for what's next.